Hello, what's happening, everybody? What's up, awesome guy? You know, Love Wizard, Pixel Fusion, Yuramashe. Hope we're all having an absolutely wonderful and amazing Friday. I'm really excited for tonight's stream. I had an idea for a guide stream slash video for setting up an empire in Black Desert Online, how to make money while you're AFK, and the importance of workers nodes and what nodes you should invest into. Black Desert Online recently released this value pack thing, and what it allows you to do is remotely invest into a node for 10 energy, meaning that we don't have to go visit each node manager to invest in a node. So what we're going to do is break down my empire completely and then rebuild it from scratch and talk about what nodes to go into if you were, newer to the game and you wanted to start getting into making money AFK or being able to produce your own goods, but have no idea where to start. I personally have broken down my empire 4 or 5 times and redid everything. I'm really happy with where it's at now. What's up, Admiral Sarm, Silence, Founix, SPQR, nice to see ya. Did we pass the promotion test, though? Damn. Alright, so to begin, what I produce is timber crates and ore crates, or brass and bronze and steel. This is what my empire looks like. We gather everything from basically this area, and then we ship it to Feria, which gets shipped all the way to Ankado and gets sold there. The reason you ship is the longer distance a trade good goes, the higher amount it's worth. So while this brass crate has a value of 31,000, with the trade bonus and bargain bonus, we can get upwards of almost 100,000 for it. What's up, R-Starpedia, Coolerflow? So what we're going to start by doing is breaking down the existing empire. I have all the cities connected that I need to, all the nodes that I need. But we're going to break it down and rebuild it from scratch. So I'm just going to start withdrawing from these nodes. And we'll start in Velia as if you are a new player and you're trying to set up, your own empire, or you want to start making money. Now, I will go ahead and say that this is not the most effective way to make money in the game, but if you have very little time to play or you want to get something set up so you're making money while you're not playing, this is definitely the route to go. Sharp shots. So there's a lot of different things you can do in this game. I personally run a crafting empire. I play a little bit on the weekends if I want to grind or whatever, but the vast majority of my time is spent managing what we're doing right here. Pulling out all our contribution here will also give people time to come in. So this is not... Oh, this portion's not... What the hey? Oh, you have to pull out of this one first. This is really intimidating to get into. You see all these different nodes and all these different things you can collect, and it can be really overwhelming thinking, what should I be gathering, what's actually going to make money, and what's not going to make money. So hopefully this stream and this guide video will help people understand, what is the most effective way to make money, how can we start making money early on. And there's plenty of ways you can do that. The best part about using workers to gather materials, if you know where those materials are going to go, it's just money in the bank. That's your choice when to process it. Now, I remember, because I've redone this so many times, I'm completely set and this is what I want my empire to be. I've tried every combination of nodes, going in the excavations and all this other stuff, and this is the best working system I've found. Yes, this video will go to YouTube later, absolutely. As well as the VOD will be available right after the show. Okay. But the only way for me to effectively do this is actually break it down, because then we can talk about the best nodes to go into early and what each node does as we invest into it. Yes, it has, Sir Big White. Ninja is released now as of 2 weeks ago. Start back here. And then once we're done doing the Empire setup portion, I'm going to talk about some different things you can buy on the marketplace to turn into money. Things that are actually a good value to buy and produce, where you still have a profit margin. As well as how to assign workers, what kind of workers you want. So we have a lot to cover today. I'm really excited about it. If you guys have questions, of course, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'll do my best to follow along. What's up, Boogaloo? So I'm going to de-invest everything from the Medea border. We'll cover what's in Medea and Valencia at the end, but I'm not going to disconnect all of this stuff. I'm not actually invested in many nodes on this side of the map as far as goods coming in. Got a couple in Medea. But that's more of a secondary or even third objective you'd be working towards. Whoops. So right now we're just pulling all of our contribution out of the nodes that we're in. Oh, this is still connected, okay. Before they introduced the remote investment for 10 energy, this video would not have been possible because you'd have to travel to each individual node, as I did when I set this up, to invest in the node. So since we have the value pack active from our Conquerors pack, we can just do this remotely. So many nodes. Might actually have to use 3 alts of energy. So I halted all of my production today to make this video. I stopped all my workers. I made sure I had alts that had energy to do this. But cut my production for a day. Lost a lot of money. Passive income is very good. We're going to talk about how to set up passive income because it is a really daunting task when you first start playing this game to even have a clue what nodes you want to invest into. When I first started playing this game, I got into all these different nodes and I had no idea what to do with the goods. And I lost so much money doing it the way I did. So maybe this will help somebody else figure it out quicker than I did. And while I'm not terribly rich right now, my system is set up really well. I've invested a lot back into the Empire, buying artisan workers and, you know, a lot of other stuff. This is like pulling apart a pinball machine. I only hope I remember where all the pieces go back. Alright, we'll get out of here, and that should be good for this area. But yeah, passive income's really nice. I'd estimate I'm making 20 to 30 million a day. Hot diggity dog. Afarius, thank you for the 31 consecutive months. Much love. How is the gain to voice volume at this current juncture? Yeah, I think withdrawing from Medea will be a little bit redundant. There's so little there, it'll be easy to talk about. And those are definitely secondary and third objectives when you're talking about setting up an empire to make money. There's some very nice money-making stuff in Medea, but it's quite expensive to get to. $31 months, though, Afarius. Thank you, sir. So generally speaking, any node that you see that has this castle sign on it is going to cost 3 contribution to get into. When we get everything de-invested here, I'll talk about contribution as if we're just brand new to the game. There's zinc and crystals and platinum in Medea, which are all good money makers, but in comparison to what you can get out of crates, I would definitely consider it a secondary or third objective you should be working towards. This is even more nodes than I thought I was going to have to de-invest from. But that's okay. Doo-doo-doo. I debated doing this before stream, but I decided to do it during. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely plenty of reason to get in the Medea nodes, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to be talking about just how to set up an empire. This is not, as I said, the most effective way to make money, but it is a great way to make passive money. What I have set up is pretty darn overkill for an empire. I'm all in on it. But you could do a portion of this, or even a fourth of this, and still make pretty decent money. I typically spend my money on buying artisan workers, which we have 29 of now. Or some of those I promoted up the ranks too. Buying ingredients to turn into even more money. We'll get into the math of that after the initial setup. Okay, so we're gonna have to go through here. Because there are plenty of things you can buy on the marketplace, process, and then turn into more money than you invested. But I would say I probably have 150 million in goods waiting to be sold, and I just did a really massive process of ore.
Keep it down.
Knockers 1976, thank you for the 32 consecutive months, man. Much love. What a player. Good evening, Irish Rifle. Fix this window here. All right, we're good now. Look at this little kitty behind me, though. And yeah, I'm excited for the Bashi run this year. It'll be good. That... Okay, it did de-invest. A little laggy there, fair enough. Doo-doo. Good old Costa Farm. Yeah, I don't know. He likes hanging out up there for whatever reason. Fine by me. He's a good little kitty. Alright, we're almost there on the withdrawal.
Keep it dapper.
My goodness. R-Star PD, thank you for the 43 consecutive months, sir. Enjoy your lurk. Well, in the case of making trade goods, you don't have to worry about inflation or marketplace prices for the most part. Everything you're gathering is from the nodes, which you then turn into goods. Alright, so we're going to assume that we're brand new to the game. We don't know anything about nodes and workers, and we're going to break it out from the beginning. So for every quest you do, you receive contribution XP.
Keep it dapper.
Each time this bar fills up, you gain 1 contribution point. Devil Sloth, thank you for the 51 consecutive months, sir. Much love. 51, though. Every quest you do will get you contribution XP. You can then spend that contribution on investing in nodes, buying lodging for your workers, and a few other things, buying containers, things of that nature. I have 2 containers in the game right now. So what we just de-invested was 136 of my 286 contribution. Generally speaking, the farther to the right on the map you get, the more contribution stuff costs. Most nodes here are 2 or 3 to invest into. All of the production nodes are 3. Same with Medea. So the cheapest money-making stuff you can get is all in this area as all... Nice. What a noise. All nodes that you invest into to get resources are only going to cost 1. So the only thing that costs above 1 are some of the farms and some of the castles. Okay. So when you start the game, you start in Olvia, and then you slowly work your way towards Velia. This is where you want to begin spending your contribution points. Regardless of what you're doing, if you plan on using workers at all, the first thing you should invest into is getting some grains in. Grains is the only way to make beer. You can buy everything else from the cooking minute to make beer, which is how you feed your workers. There are many grain nodes over the map, but my suggestion is you get to Velia, invest in Bartali Farm, invest in the potato node. Now, I will say this, if you plan on maining cooking at any point in the game, you want to get into the chicken meat nodes early on. You're not actually looking for the chicken meat, you're looking for the egg byproduct from that node. There's a chicken farm at Bartali and at Finto Farm. So this would be my first investment I got in the game. Then I go down to Tuscany Farm and grab the double corn nodes. So it gives us 3 sources of grain with only a few jumps away from the city. This will be more than enough to feed your worker force early on, but the more grain nodes you can get into, the better, and we'll get into why a little bit later. Alright, from Tuscany Farm, we can go into the Forest of Seclusion. And we're going to grab this maple node here. This is the easiest, most accessible maple node. And then right next to that is Balanos Forest, which has an ash timber node. So at this point in the game, you've just started. If you invest in these, you have enough grain to feed your workers, and you're gathering maple and ash. Those are the 2 ingredients for timber crates. Let's look at the different types of timber crates real quick. Okay, so we got a wood workbench. The type of timber crates you can make are Balanos Timber Crate, which is ash and maple plywood. Serendia Timber Crate, which is maple and pine. Calfian Timber Crate, which is birch, fir, and cedar. These are the highest value. And the Medea Timber Crates, which are white cedar and Sacia. Saya? Whatever. The nice part about getting into these lumber nodes early is even if you have no intention of using the lumber anytime soon, it gets into your storage. You can turn that into crates at any time. So you can wait 2 months and then have this huge surplus of lumber, turn it into a bunch of cash. All right, after you've got the maple and ash node, we're going to work our way towards down to Hydel here. Now there's several nodes surrounding Velia, depending on what you want to do. Acacia, thank you. Coastal Cave is a good investment. We're just going to invest in that now to get copper ore going. I'm also going to invest in the iron here, but I would not suggest that early on. You're never going to have enough copper ore. I am in 6 different copper nodes right now in my full-scale empire, and I still run out. Okay, lodging in Velia, there's not too much available. There's these 3 houses here. You have to purchase these with a contribution, but there's a level 2 lodging and 2 level 2 lodgings and 1 level 1. How much lodging it has bases how many workers you're going to need. Or how many workers you can house there. Oh, okay. Well, one moment then. Game's like, you can't be teaching people all these tricks, man. Oh, it's my water. Good evening, multi-crazy pants. They're on to us. Like, you can't teach people how to make money in the game, sir. We'll get there. They just don't want us to make the sick money. Alright, so just to summarize what we said early, the first thing you want to do is get in some grain nodes, and I suggest getting into a maple and an ash node. If you get into both of those, you're immediately setting out to be able to make money later. What nodes you get into early are very important, because you'll spend a lot of time trying to make money and leveling up your character, and it's important that you're bringing in resources while that happens. Yeah, fair enough, Titan. I don't mind the little DCs. Honestly, the server stability for this game has been awesome for me personally, so I can't even complain. I won't even complain. The Dapper Empire, I guess, Brug. So I'm top 5 on cooking and processing on pretty much any channel. I've invested a lot of time into the life skills in this game. This is from my own trial and error, multi-graded brands. I have tried many different forms of the Empire, and, yeah. It's been a journey. Alright. So we're back. Alright, now that we're in 2 grain nodes and we're collecting 2 different forms of lumber, we're going to work our way down to Heidel. So you'll see the Heidel Pass costs 3 each, but now we have Heidel connected, which means we can ship to Velia to Heidel with no,
Keep it dapper.
no extra shipping costs. Who's your man? Thank you for the 4 consecutive months. Much love. I'm on E2, thank you though. Okay, if you want to get into cooking, the Alejandro farm is a very important node for the cooking honey, this unique node. Gonna get into that right now. Alright, after you get this, I recommend connecting over to Calpheon. The reason we want to connect to Calpheon is if you're starting out with very limited CP, Calpheon's going to be the cheapest place to make timber crates, and will also have a very good trade value for when you do get to cash them in. Trade values, or trade bonuses, to Ancado Inner Harbor. Calpheon is a 92% bonus in price, Trent is a 102% bonus, and Afaria is a 98% bonus. So if you're limited on CP, Calpheon is the best budget option to make that happen. This is Lynch Farm Ruins. I don't invest into the excavation here, but it does drop Trace of Savagery, which sells for 14,000 per. Go Northern Plain of Serendia. We're going to grab this and the Maple node. So here's the second Maple node we brought in. And while we're here, you definitely want to invest into the Lynch Ranch. Lynch Ranch drops fleece and knitting yarn. These are 2 components that are made into wool to make crafting outfits. Let's look at our costume workshop right here. If you're going to make an empire, you're going to want to have processing clothes. And silver embroidered craftsman clothes take 10 wool, 10 powder of flame, and 15 blackstone powder. Powder of flame is got from mining copper. So as we extend into more copper nodes, that material won't be a problem. The wool is always the roadblock here, so the earlier you get into this fleece node, the better off you're going to be. Fleece is also what I like to call a power process. If you get an extreme amount of it built up, like 35,000 or so, you can do a really massive overnight process. We'll get into power processing after the setup, though. So we're just going to work our way towards Calpheon here, basically following the direct left line. Alright, we're going to go ahead and invest in the Cedar node, though I'm not intending on using it yet. If you were just setting up your empire, you could avoid that node. But we're going to get it since that's in mine. And just like that, Calpheon's connected. It does not cost too much CP to do this, I think 8 or 10. And we now have the Calpheon city collected. So we're bringing in maple and ash timber, and then if we made plywood, we could ship it directly to Calpheon. Calpheon has something crazy like 160 houses to build. So if you wanted to find a wood workbench, you'd click on this tab right here, go down to wood workbench. There's all the wood workbenches available. You're going to be able to find one in here for probably 2 CP. Which is a pretty cheap investment compared to most. Alright. As far as lodging goes in Calpheon to have space for more workers, these 3 houses down here are the cheapest initial investment to get houses. You'll see I'm not even in these, because what I did instead was took the slightly more expensive route. And I got the level 5 lodging here in a Gabino farm. Investing in lodging in an outskirt farm will always direct to the nearest city. So the second floor here, we get storage for Calpheon, and then a level 5 lodging, which allows us to hire 8 more workers in Calpheon. So it's 10 CP for 8 worker slots. Good deal. I'm not that loaded, Teely Bear, mostly because I've reinvested back into the Empire. We'll get into how to reinvest and what's actually a smart buy a little bit later. Okay, so here's a common mistake I've seen watching other people play. They connect a Afaria port by going through this route. It costs about 7 or 8 more CP to do so this way. The best way to connect to Afaria is back this way through Olbia. Okay, so you've got your 2 Nullarbor nodes, you got the grains, you're connected to Calphion. This is a great place to start. Cost about 45 CP to have this set up. Now we can start working into getting secondary nodes. It is my recommendation, if you are making crates in Calphion, hold on to them until you at least have somewhere to sell them. The end goal being to get Ankado Inner Harbor connected. Then you can ship your goods from Eferia all the way over here for a massive trade bonus. Alright, so let's say you're set up right here. Now you can start adding in secondary nodes. Oop. We already got double maple, so we probably want to get another source of wood. My suggestion would be, we're going to invest in Moretti Plantation. You can grab another grain node here. Just making and selling beer can be very good money. The important part about having grains to make beer is not so much the beer for your workers, it's these side drops down here. Dish with poorly prepared ingredients. This is a side effect of cooking, which you'll get from making beer. You exchange 5 for contribution points. So if you're cooking a lot of beer, you can escalate your contribution points very quickly without even questing. As soon as you hit the threshold about professional floor cooking, you have the chance to get multiple side dishes. So if you're cooking thousands of beer at a time, you're getting hundreds of these, which add up real quick. You turn in 2,000, gain like 14, 15 contribution. Okay, there's a cheaper route to connect Glish by going just down here to connect this city. But we want to get into the Castle Ruins node and the Serendia Shrine. Those cost slightly more CP, we're going to do it this way. This Pine node's nice to get into early. It's the second part of the Serendia crates. So Serendia and Balanos crates both use maple timber. Serendia uses pine, and Balanos uses ash. We're getting that pine node, and then I'm going to grab a third maple node here. Okay, another key node here is Southern Sinaga. And the reason you want this one is this iron node drops rough mud crystals. This is a super value node. So rough mud crystals are this. If you heat the mud crystals, they turn into normal crystals. My goodness, I'm going to try a different channel. If you heat the mud crystals, they turn into regular crystals. You can take 3 crystals and a blackstone powder at a mineral workbench to make an amulet. The amulets don't sell for too much, about 15 to 20,000 per. So the profit margin's not good, but what it allows you to do is level up your trading. The higher level your trading is, the bigger bargain bonus you're going to get from trading in your goods. So it's kind of a junk item that makes a little bit of money, but it increases your trade skill, which increases your overall income over time. Hey, knees hot, Chili Rab. That sounds awesome. Yeah, it is part of the value packs. The only reason we're able to do this guide stream / video is because we can remotely invest in nodes, which is nice. I have alts all set up with energy and everything too, so that's cool. Let's try Calphion E2 then. Balanos E2 seems to be pretty jacked here. I agree, Blar, boat wheels would be cool. All right. So to briefly summarize what we've done so far, we started in Velia, we invested in the potato node at Berdari Farm, the double corn node at Tuscany Farm, we grabbed the maple and forest seclusion, and the ash node in Balanos Forest. This is my suggestion for starting, because you're getting 2 parts of a timber crate, work your way down to Heidel, and then work over to Calpheon, grabbing the Lynch Farm Ruins, or Lynch Ranch node. Now we're going to start investing in all the other stuff, and we'll cover what nodes drop what. So this node right next to Glish, you get 1 free worker in each town, so you can have your worker in Glish mine this iron node. For every 600 mud crystals you get, you're going to get about 300 crystals at professional-ish processing. It's going to equal about $2 million. May not seem like a whole lot, but it does add up when you're in all these different crystal nodes. At high professional or master level processing, you can assume anything that takes 5 per process is going to net you about 2.5 in return.
Keep it dapper.
So 600 mud crystals would equal 300 regular crystals, which equal 100 amulets, which equal about $2 million. MT2 Shino, thank you for the 27 consecutive months. Much love. Another node that drops crystals is the Goblin Cave, and we're going to get over there right now. Let me just get invested in this chicken here. Grab the potato and the chicken meat. And then we have to invest in the Forest of Plunder, which we're not actually using, but this brings us to the Goblin Cave. Goblin Cave has copper ore node, and this copper ore will also drop rough translucent crystals. God bless, I'm already out of energy. Wow. These rough translucent crystals are exactly the same as the mud crystals. Every 600 of those you bring in will be about $2 million once they're processed, shipped, and traded. So now we got to swap characters real quick. So I can continue to remotely invest. Hey, thank you, Shino. Appreciate that. And thank you for those 27 months, dude. Amazing. And now we wait. Hey, cool, Dig Taka. Congrats on taking the dive, bud. I'm so excited for this stream. I love doing stuff like this. And I really struggled trying to figure out the best way to create an empire. So I'm excited to share my knowledge. I love sharing knowledge and helping other people out. And there's a lot of money to be made with passive income in this game. A lot. All right. So we're going to grab this ash node. So if you took this route, at this point in the game, you'd be in double chicken, double potato, double corn, wheat. You'd have 2 copper nodes going. And more importantly, you'd have 2 sources of maple and 2 sources of ash. So you'd be set up to make Balanos timber crates pretty nice. Yeah, go for it, Shino. Please do. Okay, where was I? Am I missing anything over here? I gotta be missing something. We're not. Oh yeah, we're gonna go into Costa Farm here. Don't worry about Costa Farm if you're new. This is very in-game for the Empire. This is a node that I don't actually need, but I invest into because I have the CP. Hey everybody, different people like different things. You can do a combination of both. The nice part about setting up an empire is while you're out grinding, you're still pulling in materials. Okay, another quick value node that you can grab is when you start getting into getting iron ore, you want to grab the Keplin Quarry node. This is only 1 jump away from Keplin. You don't have to connect it to the rest of your route. You just put 1 worker there gathering coal, which will be used to make steel later on. Hey, Gravedig, thanks for the 14 consecutive months, dude, and best luck chasing that dream. I understand the time sacrifice. Trust me, I do. Hope everything goes awesome for you. Alright, so we spent about 70 CP so far, but at this point we'd be bringing in copper and a lot of stuff for Balanos crates and Serendia crates. The Serendia Shrine is the only node you can actually get pine timber effectively from. The only other place you can get pine timber is Marie Cave, which is really far out of the way CP-wise. So this would be the bare minimum for starting your empire, basically. You got stuff for timber crates coming in. You're collecting some copper and iron, coal, and you should be making stuff in Calfian right now. This is a great place to start your empire. It's only a 92% bonus going to Ankado, but you can get 92% still pretty damn massive. Alright, now we're going to finish out our nodes over here in Velia, just so I don't forget. We're going to grab Logia Farm. I could actually probably drop Logia Farm, but I'm not going to. Get that triple potato node. It's definitely another secondary objective. Now that we have this connected, I'm going to start working over towards Eferia. Here is the proper route for going to Eferia. Coastal Cliff, Balanos River mouth, Olvia Coast, Costa Farm. Okay, if you're going to be doing any cooking, you do any cooking in the game, you want to get invested in this grape node early. In fact, if this is the first node you invested into, it wouldn't be a bad thing. The fruit you get from that can be used to make exotic herbal wine, which makes fruit wine, which is a very good money maker / cooking churner. This is the only fruit node in the game. So this is the only place your workers can gather fruit by hand. So getting in this node early on is definitely to your benefit if you want to cook. Whale Farm, Thermain Cliff. And the Florin Gateway costs 3. This is once again much cheaper than connecting Eferia by going through Calfian. The reason it's cheaper is these cost 3 per. Now, there might be something to be said for doing this anyways to get a 3rd birch node, but that's way, way out there. So, even though it looks like, you know, it hooks all the way around, if you do a transport, it just goes from Calfian to Eferia. Costa Farm for grapes. Hey, cool, Shino. Look forward to seeing it. You're free to post it in chat as well. It's always welcome. So my recommendation early on is to make your goods and ship them and just start storing them in Eferia. Just start storing goods here for when you do get Ankado Inner Harbor connected, you're going to make a ton of money off of your backstock. So you can see I have quite a few goods here waiting to be shipped. So that pretty much covers this area of the map. What's here is copper, lots of copper ore. In fact, I need to get into these. Anything else I'm missing over here? I don't think so. Alright, so 3 really key nodes in this area are Lynch Ranch for fleece. You can never have enough wool if you're making clothes, which are 1, good to sell with production, and 2, are very useful for making your own craftsman clothes, +2, +3, +4. Goblin Cave drops rough translucent crystals and is a source of ash and copper timber, or copper ore. And Southern Sinaga drops rough mud crystals. This is really easy passive money. You can invest in these nodes, come back 3 months later, and cash in on all the extra goods. Alright, now we're going to get over to Calfian. All the Calfian timber crate stuff is in this area. It's pretty hard to locate, but I am in 2 birch nodes, 3 cedar nodes, and 3 fir nodes. Hey, I appreciate that, MT Duchino. That's exactly what I do as well. Much respect, sir. That is definitely the way to do it. What order you decide to invest in from this point is up to you. But here's how I have it set up. We invest in Dias Farm here. And then we're going to invest in the Northern Wheat Plantation. Northern Wheat Plantation has wheat, paprika, and barley. And paprika counts as a vegetable for cooking stuff. For this case, we're going to invest into the wheat and barley after I log into a new character. I definitely spent quite a bit of time thinking about it might add Martin, but no, I did not plan the whole thing. I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted to do when we got into it. There will be more after this portion on how to, what to buy in the market. We have lots of subjects to cover. We're going to get the Empire rebuilt right now. Let me just say I spent a lot of time working on my Empire, min-maxing it, and trying to figure out what's the best places and where to put workers. This has been my obsession in this game. Some people like to have the best gear. Some people like to have the highest life skills. I want to optimize Empire. Okay. Alright, so here in Calpheon, you connect to the northern wheat plantation first. We're going to go into the wheat and barley nodes. These are both grains just used for beer. Marduk83, thank you for the 33 consecutive months, sir. Much love. After connecting the northern wheat plantation, we can go to Old Dandelion. Here's our first good timber node in Calpheon. This is birch timber. And right above Old Dandelion is Crudo Cave. This tin ore node will not show up unless you have already invested in Crudo Cave. The important part about the Crudo Cave tin node, there's only 3 accessible tin nodes in the entire game. This one drops the rough red crystals, which are then turned into red crystals by heating, which are then turned into red crystal amulet of lovers in the mineral workbench. So if you're on the city, you can scroll down for mineral workbench. There's actually a couple here that only cost 1 CP to get. Only 1. You can see the ingredients for red crystal amulet of lovers is 3 red crystals and 1 blackstone powder. So for every about 600 crystals you pull in, which will take about a week and a half, that makes 300 red crystals, which makes 100 amulets, which sells for about $2 million bucks. All right, so 1 birch node here. The next birch node we're going to get, so we're going to go to the farm here. There's an excavation here which drops some good stuff, but I'm not interested in that. Bree Tree Ruins is birch node number 2. There is a 3rd birch node available at Quint Hill. Though getting the Quint Hill node is extremely expensive. You have to go through at least 2 of these. It's going to be 7 CP, 8 CP to get that 3rd birch node. Not a good investment. Alright, other key nodes in the Calpheon area. We're going to head down from Gabino Farm, which is where we bought our lodging. We're going to go to Finel's Cabin. This has our first fir node. Okay, so we have fir, birch, and we have cedar at O's Pass. So if you're in those 3 nodes, you're collecting all the stuff for Calpheon timber crates. Below Final's Cabin is Bear Riverhead. This is the second and most important tin node to get into. The reason this tin node's good to get into is the secondary drop at Bear Riverhead is Powder of Earth. Powder of Earth not only sells for 5,300 apiece if you just want to junk it, but it's the key ingredient for making cooking clothes, same way as the silver embroidered craftsman clothes. And it also makes some horse gear as well. This is the only node in the game where you can receive Powder of Earth as a secondary drop. So I consider that a very key node in any setup if you want to make clothes, make horse gear, or have good stuff to sell. Oops. Okay, now we're going to go Bear downstream into Bear. This is where my Empire gets a little bit funky. Because taking this cedar node, the 3rd cedar node, is a lot of CP for the investment. Oakless11, thank you for the 4 consecutive months. Much love. And then rather than hook around here, we go through Rudum Outstation. This cost me 2 extra CP to go this way, but we get an additional tin node, which has a crystal drop as well. Okay, so from Calpheon, we went Gabino Farm, North Kaya Mountaintop, Finals Cabin, Bear Riverhead, Bear Downstream, Bear, Longleaf Tree Forest. Now we're going to go into Rudum Sentry Post. Rudum Outstation. This is the third and final 10 node available. The reason the Rudum Outstation node is valued by me is it drops rough green crystals. These work the exact same way as the mud crystals, red crystals, and translucent crystals. For every 600 of these we receive, we can melt them into about 300 crystals and make $200 million, in addition to giving ourselves additional trade goods to trade to level up our trading for better value long term. All right, from here, we're going to go into Taubert's cabin, branch up to the Mancha Forest. So it'll give us a second fur node. Hey, what's up, Olgus? Great to see you. What we're going to be doing right now is setting up a pretty in-depth guide video for my empire, and then we're going to talk about the different ways to make passive money in the game. The next Cooking with Frag is tomorrow around 10 p.m. Pacific, Pad Thai. So let me say this, if you're beginning to start your empire, doing all this stuff down by Trent is one of the last things you should do. This is one of the least contribution point effective routes you can go. It takes up a lot of CP to get down to Trent for not that much return. But if you're high-level crafting, Calfian timber crates, brass bronze crates, so on and so forth, the 102% trade bonus you get from going from Trent all the way over here is pretty massive. A Calfian timber crate at full 130% bonus with 102% trade bonus and a decent bargain bonus can sell for upwards of 170,000 per crate. Okay, final nodes we need to get here. We need to do Lumberjack's Rest Area. This has an additional cedar node. That's our third cedar node. And the Treant Forest, which will have the fir timber node. Okay, I'm missing 4 CP. I need to figure out where that is. We're missing something. So we have cedar node here, and cedar node here. We have fir node. Where's the third fir? Fir. Yeah. Fir node here, fir node here, fir node here. The distance it takes a worker to go from Calfian to these birch nodes is much less than it is to get to the fir or cedar. So by having 3 cedar and 3 fir nodes activated with only 2 birch, it still equals about the same amount of timber in per day, which is roughly 1,000 of each. I really got to figure out where I left my contribution. I have to be missing some sort of node here. Taxes mostly for the marketplace, Nacho Bears. Other than that, it shouldn't affect you. All right, we've set up the basis for the for this. We'll figure out where the CP missing is. Probably in invested nodes. So after you get this basis set up, I would beeline through Medea and try to get up to Ankado Inner and just ignore this stuff for right now. All these nodes are very expensive to invest into, and you can spend that CP to get to a good trade route so you can start shipping crates and making bank earlier on. Let's talk about the key nodes in Medea here. There's a couple important nodes in Medea. The Abandoned Iron Mine node. This iron ore drops rough black crystals which sell for 8,000 apiece or can be used to make level 3 armor reform stones in a refinery. This is a really good value node just for making money. There's also a zinc node here, which drops platinum, a very another high value thing, and zinc can be mixed with copper to make brass. Omar Lava Cave has a coal node and the secondary zinc node. You want to be in both of these to try to get zinc and platinum. Platinum sells for a lot. Another key node in Medea is the Stonetail Wasteland. This is the only place
Keep it dapper.
you can get a size of timber, which is made with white cedar timber to make Medea crates. Dig Taka, little hand to you, friend. Welcome to the Dapper. Thanks so much for that support, sir. Appreciate it. However, getting into Medea timber crates is a secondary objective. Or maybe even a third objective. The first thing you want to do is get a system to make some money and then expand out from there to make more money if you want to. Okay, since there's only one of this lumber node, you need to have 2 white cedar nodes to make up for that. You can buy the difference, but it is expensive. So there's a white cedar node here and a white cedar node up here. In addition to a second white cedar node, there's also a 4th maple node up here. I am in 4 maple nodes, 3 ash timber nodes, and 1 pine node. So that evens out for Balanos and timber crates. By having the 4 maple nodes activated, I always have enough maple to cover the Balanos and Serendia crates. But this is much later into making an empire. Alright, now we have to figure out where our workers are going and why. I know what we didn't invest into. Hideout Quarry. That's it right there. Insufficient energy. Alright, one more alt and we got there. This game is very overwhelming, which is one of the main reasons I wanted to do this guide video. One moment. But yes, starting small is definitely the way to go. Which is why I suggested early on, you just get into the potato node here, double corn, grab maple and ash. Just start small, start doing one thing, and branch out from there. Yeah, 160 is more than enough, Mad Grub. With 160 contribution points, you can easily get double maple nodes, double ash nodes, get over to Calpheon and be making crates. No problem. In fact, to connect all of this that I just did in this region, including all the nodes I gathered and the extra CP I took for Trent, it was only 168 contribution. So you can definitely set up a money-making system with 160 contribution and branch out. Absolutely, Slavor. You can click on my name above the broadcast, and there will be a VOD of this. You could probably even watch the start of the show now on the VOD. This will also be uploaded to YouTube at a later date, but the VOD and highlight will always be available to watch. Okay, what was our place here? We got 3 contribution left somehow. Okay, here's 2. I know what I missed. I bet I mixed a flax node. Flax here? No, we got the flax. Okay, I'm missing 1 node right now, but whatever. I knew I was going to forget something. Okay, now let's talk about workers a little bit. Now that we have our stuff set up. Getting high quality workers takes a long frickin' time. You can set up Trent to Ancado route with only 140. Great to know, Toby. We're going to walk over to the work supervisor here and talk about workers real quick, how to promote them, and how that all works. So to hire a worker, you simply click on the NPC button up here, click the worker person, and go here. To contract a worker, you can spend 5 energy to look at a worker. He can offer you any worker from a naive worker to an artisan worker, which you can then buy with cash. You can also go to the worker exchange to hire workers that are somebody else put on the market. So workers go from gray, green, blue, gold, and then orange are the 5 rarities, being naive, normal, skilled, professional, and artisan. Each type of worker has a different value. Goblin workers will have a much higher work speed, but they have far less stamina. If you're at the PC all day and you're able to refresh your workers a lot, Goblin workers are a very good option. If you have to be away from the PC for a long time, Giants are the opposite. They move very slowly, but they have very high stamina, so they can work overnight or work for, 12, 16 hours without you having to manage them. We sure do, Digtaka. Generally speaking, your best policy is to try to get skilled workers early on and then promote them through the ranks. At level 10, 20, and 30, they receive 1 promotion chance, which you'll see by looking at the worker right here. Promoting your workers, about a 50% chance they'll be promoted. And once they're out of promotions, you can't get any more. They're stuck at that threshold. So hopefully your skilled worker becomes a professional, levels up, then becomes an artisan. This once again takes a lot of time. You can spend money straight up. You can sit on the worker exchange and wait for artisan workers. We can end up spending upwards of 10 million per artisan worker for that. Early on, try to get skilled workers working, promote up the ranks, and then expand from there. You can sell workers, yes. Level 30 artisan worker sells for about 10 million. Why you'd sell that, I don't know, but I've bought my fair share. So to increase your worker space, you can buy a pearl item or you can invest into lodgings. Hey, no worries, Glorious Rainbow. Take care of yourself first, man. Okay, we're in the core. I'm confused what we're missing. We'll figure it out soon, though. Okay, we talked about the key nodes of Medea. You have the abandoned iron mine for rough crystals and zinc ore / platinum. Omar lava cave for coal, zinc ore / platinum. And the best grain node in the game is right here at Shuri Farm. The Shuri Farm sweet potato node doesn't just drop sweet potatoes, it also drops high quality sweet potatoes and special sweet potatoes. So it's like a triple grain node. Really good. Now it costs 3 to invest into, but it's definitely worth it. Alright, now we're going to talk about where to put your workers and what type of worker you want working at specific places. This takes a lot of management, but, for example, if I have only giant workers gathering lumber, the ones I have to go all the way down here are going to be much slower. So for a slightly farther away node, maybe we want to use a human worker which has slightly larger move speed. Or for a very far away task, we may want to use a goblin worker as they'll get there quicker. Simcopter1, thank you for the host, sir. Excuse the restroom real quick, and then we'll get all my workers assigned. And then we'll go into worker management and how to actually make money by buying stuff on the marketplace. How to keep the empire going. What's a good investment? Be back shortly.
Keep it dapper.
Alright, sorry for that short delay. Okay, so what I mean about the class of worker is you have to estimate how much stuff is coming in. So if I look at my capital of Calphian here, I can see that I'm getting slightly more cedar than I am fur. I was at 0 on everything when I stopped my production after my last process. So I can see here that we're falling slightly behind on birch since we only have 2 birch nodes, which is fine. But sometimes you'll see, like, after a week or so, you're like, okay, I have 5,000 cedar timber, but only 3,500 fir. And that's when you want to make an adjustment to put better workers on the fir nodes. I suggest about once every 2 weeks you stop all of your working for about 8 hours to make sure everybody's clear, and then reassign your workers to what you feel is best. Look for the disparities in timber or ore and try to fix that problem by reassigning your workers in a more organized fashion. Or by adding on a new node, so on and so forth. So I like to do one thing at a time. What we're going to do first is get all of our lumber nodes activated. Lumber is my main money maker and where I want my artisan workers working the vast majority of the time. Nope, I know what we missed. Okay, we're going to withdraw from this. I'm supposed to go Wolf Hills here, which has my 3rd ash timber. I found the missing CP. Alright, so we're going to start up here. We're going to get all the lumber nodes activated. We got ash timber here. Now, I have all my Heidel workers working on this stuff. Since this is a very far away task, he has to go from Heidel all the way up to Wolf Hills. This is the farthest node away from Heidel I take. I'm going to send my artisan goblin there. You can see that'll take 25 minutes, 35 seconds, versus even an artisan human's going to take 10 minutes more. This will absolutely be made into a VOD. VODs are automatically saved, then highlighted, so the highlight will be there forever, and then it'll be uploaded to YouTube afterwards as well. So this is a good example of sending a faster worker to a farther away node. Alright, our second ash timber node. Actually, we'll grab this maple timber node here. This one's also somewhat far away, but we're going to send artisan human in there. Our next timber node is Balanos Forest. We're going to send a artisan giant up there. Got farm knowledge. Maybe we'll hold on to him. And then we're going to grab this Goblin Cave Ash Timber node, which we're going to send a artisan giant to. It's in the level 28 up there. That'd be... what class is that? I should know that. Okay, so there's all of our Balanos Timber nodes. We have triple Ash Timber and 1 Maple coming in. Now we're going to move down to the Serendia Maple, or Serendia Timber. We have a Maple node at the northern plane of Serendia. We're going to put an Artisan Giant on that. Go to Serendia Shrine Pine Timber. We definitely want an Artisan Human on this task. This is the only Pine Timber node we have activated, so we want to be getting as much Pine Timber in as we possibly can. Artisan Human's going to suit that need. Now we have our third Maple here, which we're going to send an Artisan Giant to. Okay, now we have a couple more Timber nodes we have to get to. These are the ones in Medea. This is the extra timber you can invest into if you're very far into your empire. Stonetail Wasteland has the only timber of this type, so we want to send a very good worker to that one. We're going to say this level 25 Artisan Human. Okay, this is a case where I have to invest into 2 White Cedar nodes to get the same amount of timber. Now, there's going to be more White Cedar timber no matter what I do, because I'm going to be in 2 nodes. But what I can do in this case, since I know I have 2 White Cedar nodes and only one of this, I can put some of my crappier workers up here on the White Cedar. So instead of using my artisans for this case, we're going to end up using professional humans or professional giants, if I even have any. So we'll send this guy up there. It takes him 48 minutes per task, but we're doing 2 tasks instead of 1, so we cannot use our good workers for this task. Anybody else need leveled up? Not really. Sure, level 23 professional worker. And then we're going to invest into this 4th Maple one. Definitely want an Artisan Human. If I had a secondary Artisan Goblin, I'd probably send him up here. Okay, so that covers all of our need for Medea, Balanos, and Serendia timber crates. To make a crate is quite simple. You go to a town, you select wood workbench, you buy the wood workbench, click on manage crafting, select something from the tab. Easy peasy. Alright, now for timber nodes left, we have the Calfian version. So we're going to take O's Pass, cedar node here. Okay, I'm actually going to send an Artisan Giant over to this one. We're overproducing slightly on cedar, so I'm going to adjust my worker force here. Grab cedar number 2 down here at Longleaf Sentry Post. And we'll put a human on that one. Grab the 3rd cedar at the Lumberjack's Rest area. Now, obviously, if we had a worker in Trent gathering the cedar, it would be more efficient. But you have to keep in mind you have to ship your goods as well. So if you can get all of your timber coming into one central source, you then don't have to ship that timber somewhere else. It frees up transport space. So that's the reason I choose to get all my timber coming into Calfian and Hydel. Then I have 2 places I have to go to cut timber, and that's it. We'll grab our 3rd cedar node there. And we're going to start grabbing our fur. Sure, Artisan Human, go for it. Grab the cabin. Artisan Giant. You see, Artisan Giant has... what? Oh. That was the wrong giant. Was it? Must have been. Artisan Giants have 35 stamina. Artisan Goblin has 15. Artisan Human has 23. Okay, we got double. Let's grab the triple fur here. Artisan Giant again. Now we have our 3 cedar and 3 fir nodes activated. Now we're going to grab both of our birch nodes. We want giant workers on the birch nodes always. In fact, I should have saved the level 30 ones for this task. But you can see the birch timber nodes take 22 minutes versus the 35 it would take them to get to the other ones. So with 2 birch nodes with high level giants on this, we should be bringing in just about as much birch as we do the other ones with 2 nodes versus 3. Alright, so we've activated all our timber nodes. We have 4 maple, 3 ash, 1 pine, Asaya, 2 white cedar, 3 fir, 3 cedar, 2 birch. This is the bread and butter of my money. But now we get into secondary stuff, which is going to be tin and copper. So now we're going to activate ore nodes. There's 3 tin nodes available. A good crating tip, where the worker lives is where the crate comes from for trading it. That's right. Alright, the 3 tin nodes are Karuto Cave. This one's important because... well, let me see how many artisans I have left here. I only have 2 artisans left to work with. We're going to put these on the tin nodes for sure. So this one drops red crystals, which again, after you get about 600 of these, you can melt them down and make about $2 million worth of red crystal amulets at the mineral workbench. The second tin node, and probably most important, is the Bear Riverhead tin node. This drops powder of earth, which is the crafting material to make cook's clothes and some horse gear. Oh, it's the Keplin one. So that was the end of my artisan workers. Fair enough. So we'll send professional human down here. And our third tin node is the Rudum Outstration. This drops the rough green crystals, work exactly like the rest of them. Professional giant. Okay, not the best for the task, but we'll be able to promote up eventually. Okay, so we've activated all of our Calphian nodes. We're in 3 tin nodes and 8 timber nodes in Calphian. The remaining nodes here are the Northern Wheat Plantation, wheat, which we're going to use Professional Goblin, and barley, Professional Goblin as well. This leaves us, I believe, 2 workers left to make the red crystal amulets of lovers. You can see we have a large surplus of red crystals. We're just going to go to our mineral workbench, click on Manage Crafting. Going to select red crystal amulet of lovers. You can see it takes 3 crystals and 1 blackstone powder. There you go. Go to our other mineral workbench. And there it is. Alright, so we've sorted out our contribution here for timber. We're now making the amulets again. Awesome. Alright, now we need to invest in the ore nodes over here. So, this node right here drops the rough mud crystals. We're going to use our artisan human and glish to rock that as quickly as possible. Nodes with secondary drops, human workers are generally speaking going to be best because they have the highest luck, highest chance of that secondary drop. Go to Lynch Ranch. We're going to put a artisan human worker on this as well. This is the only node that drops fleece, and incredibly important if you want to craft your own craftsman clothes, or you just want to sell the wool for a ton of money. Okay, we have another artisan giant too, nice. But artisan human definitely belongs there. Alejandro Farm, cooking honey, do want. Cooking honey just straight up sells really well. Alright, Northern Hydel Quarry. We're going to grab the iron ore from here with... We'll go Artisan Giant on that. Then we have the iron node up here, which I also grabbed from Hydel. If you're noticing a recurring theme here, I like to have the same ingredients coming into the same place. Even if I lose a little bit of time in my workers, it tends to work out a lot better that way. This way I don't have iron split up between Glish, Hydel, and Velia. It's just Glish and Hydel. If you start getting your resources split into 3 or 4 places, it becomes an inventory management nightmare. Alright, now we need to round out. Is there anything else that's coming from Hydel? No. Potatoes. It's very redundant for me to be in 3 potato nodes, but I have my reasons for wanting lots of grains. Every once in a while I go on a cooking kick because the cooking side dishes give extra contribution, and the more grains I have, the more easily accessible cooking materials I can just churn out real quick. I also need a ton of beer to make this empire run the way it does. We end up using about 750 beer a day on average. Okay, so I believe that's all of my Hydel nodes, or all my Hydel workers. Now we have the plantations down here. So after we get all our nodes set up with our workers, we're going to talk about how to level processing, mega processing, and then we're going to get into what's good to buy on the marketplace. I'm going to give you guys my secrets for making money off the marketplace. Because, you know, I'm a nice guy. I am not buying any beer from the marketplace. Being invested in all the grain nodes in the game gives you more than enough to sustain any workforce size. Got Costa Farm. We're going to put goblins on this. And then I'll leave me 1 worker to make clothes with. Okay, so here in Heidel, this whole string is a really nice set of lodging. But we purchased this house 7-4 as a costume mill. So we're then going to make silver embroidered craftsman clothes for a professional worker. The nice part about this location right here is you can switch it from costume mill to a level 3 to a workshop when you want to make advanced cooking utensils. So this is a multi-purpose building. Very cheap to switch back and forth. Only takes about 15 minutes to level it up. Yeah, there you go, Wiz. There you go. All right, now we need to get invested in our Velia nodes and Costa farm here. So there we go. We got an artisan goblin on grapes. Great. Yeah, Mount Rosars. I mean, if you watch from the start of the VOD, I broke down the thing completely and then kind of gave my suggestion on where to start. Okay, now we got to get back into the chicken meat nodes here. We're setting up our Velia workers now. Do it 1 town at a time. It becomes a lot easier. Takes a little bit longer, but you're sure where everything is at the end of it. Okay, Logia farm's fine. Got copper ore here. Alright, now we have the double copper at the Imp Cave. Want to save 2 giants for those corn nodes. Sure, we'll put a goblin here, why not? Oh crap, I just goofed. This goofed pretty big actually. I'm pretty sure that's my artisan worker that was in Velia. We want the Olvia. That artisan goblin has a pretty important job. We'll fix that a little bit later, though. Alright, Tuscany farm. I'm going to put double giants on this corn node. Okay, what else are we missing here? Gotta be missing something. Yeah, if we still have 2 workers available, we're definitely missing something here. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, copper node down here. There we go. No, not Glish. Professional giant worker Velia. So the artisan goblin I put on grapes is actually supposed to be the artisan goblin that goes to the copper node on the goblin caves that drops the rough translucent crystals. So the faster that gets churned out, the better. Okay. So our empire is basically set back up. Now let's talk about mega processing and how to level processing really effectively. When you first start playing, you may think, oh man, I'll never be master of this skill or whatever. But it's actually not that hard, especially processing to get master and get the highest returns possible. The more you process, generally speaking, the higher your yield is. It does kind of have a soft cap to it. But once you reach about Pro 5, Pro 6, you'll be receiving, for something that costs 5 each to process, you'll on average get about 2.5 in return. This makes calculations for making money a lot easier. The best ways to level up your processing is by making plywood or by making ignits. So for example, the XP value for melting melted copper and melted tin together is about 3 to 5 times higher than just melting the ore itself. As you can see, I have quite the surplus of melted stuff here. And about 600 crates worth of bronze. That's been my project for the past few days. Alright, so a mega process is something you can do over a 12 to 14 hour period. This requires a lot of resource to do, but if you have a huge surplus of something that only has a 0.10 weight proc, you can do a mega process. Examples of that would be like flax. The side value or the side proc from flax is flax thread, which only weighs 0.10. Fleece is another one. The side proc for fleece is knitting yarn, only weighs 0.10. This is the reason I'm in flax nodes, not because I need flax for any crafting, but when I get about 50,000, 60,000 flax put up, I can AFK process for over half a day without having my weight fill up and receiving a lot of processing experience. Another thing you can do for easy processing experience is grind your grains that you get and then make them into dough. That's a very easy way to level processing early on at very little cost to yourself. Grains are very easy to come by, and if you end up cooking, you're going to want flour and dough anyways. So for the early portions of leveling up, grains are going to be very easy to access for leveling processing while you're building up surpluses of other things. I mean, hell, you can even grind dough and just sell it for a quick buck if you want to. You do not need the processing costume from the cash shop. What the processing costume from the cash shop does, though, is it allows you to process for longer without having to swap your task. So if you do not have the processing costume, I'll give an example here. Going back to the warehouse here, and I'll explain how that works. Hey, cool wobbly chair. Right on, dude. I might have to make it out to that next year. Okay, so if I wanted to process without the outfit, I'd have to look at my weight here and say, okay, well, I want to process bronze right now, so I can hold, say, 2,000. Okay, I overshot a little bit there, though. But you'd be limited by how much you can carry in your inventory. If you have the processing outfit, what happens is you can click on the processing, and then we can do this just from storage. So we can heat this and this. So we're no longer limited by how much we can hold in our inventory. What gets processed shows up in our inventory after this. So we'd realistically be able to process about 6,000 at a time rather than 2,000. This doesn't make your processing any better or increase your yield. It just decreases the amount that you'd have to come back to the PC or open up the game to swap your task out. If that makes sense. One of the best things you can do for having a processing empire at all is try to get +3 craftsman clothes. We talked about how to make craftsman clothes. You get the wool, you're going to get powder of flame from gathering copper, and the rest is blackstone powder. Alright, let me give you guys the secrets to getting blackstone powder here. Blackstone powder market has crashed a bit, so it's actually pretty cheap to buy. But there are some very easy ways to get a lot of blackstone powder very quickly. Makes it more AFK-able indeed, Elder Gaming. Or Elder Gamer, excuse me. No, you would not be able to do that without the processing costume, but you'd still be able to put together an extremely long process by holding as much flax in your inventory as you possibly could. Since you'd be using 5 flax per process and you receive about 2.5 in return, you could fill up your inventory to be basically almost to capacity and then just process that for the duration. Alright, here's the secret to blackstone powder. So if we just go here and look at blackstone powder, it costs 982 per, which is not a bad price. It was upwards closer to 1,500 even about a month ago. Whether you had the processing costume or not, it would still be one of the most effective processings you could do, if that makes sense. Blackstone powder currently costs 982 per. The special deals tab on the market is something people often overlook. The best time to check the special deal tabs on the marketplace is first thing in the morning, right after maintenance happens, or right after an event starts, like a grinding event or something. So what this tab is, if people are grinding and they set it to marketplace distribution, all the stuff they find while they're grinding in their party goes to this special deals tab. What you do here is scroll down to the gems. Okay, here's the gems. So what you're looking for is stacks of cheap gems. If you have time, you can just buy out whatever. So let's say, for example, this Magic Crystal Infinity down attack. Hey, only 10,000 per. Okay, here's the kicker, though. The higher level your processing is, the more Blackstone powder you will receive per gem. I do not believe there's an effective cap on this, so when you get up to Master 3, Master 4, real good. So we paid $10,000 for this Magic Crystal Infinity down attack. We're going to grind that. Grind it up, Ted. Processing not going as planned, of course. $38 Blackstone powder. So then we're going to open our calculator here. 10,000 divided by 38 equals 263 silver per Blackstone powder versus 968. Styles 34. Thank you for the 22 consecutive months. Much love. Almost 2 years, man. Beautiful. In addition to this, the blue gems are actually not the most effective. Green gems are even more effective to break down, but it takes more time. So what I usually do is once every month or so, or when an event, like a grinding event starts, I hunt that special deals tab until there's about 100 of the same gem, buy them all out, grind into like 4,500 Blackstone powder. But you can see you're paying literally 3 times as much by buying just straight Blackstone powder versus grinding it yourself. And the higher level your processing becomes, the higher value you get. But if you're looking to kickstart your empire on the cheap, you can definitely still go to the special deals tab here. And there will almost always be here a stack of green gems that is over 100. Well, not today. Like, for example, this one could have 120. You could buy all 120 gems, grind them all down in a session. This is much slower, but it is slightly cheaper. Every crate that you make will take at least 1 Blackstone powder. Every crafting outfit you make will take 10 to 15. Cooking utensils takes Blackstone powder. If you do any crafting at all in this game, you're going to need a large surplus of Blackstone, and that is the hands-down cheapest way to do it, is by hitting the special deals tab, finding a stack of gems, or buying out all the cheap gems and grinding them yourself. You'll see here there's a couple for 11,000 and it jumps to 138. Marketplace deals are either set to high or low, and if they're set to low, they're going to be much cheaper. In addition, things that sit on the special deals tab have their price drop by 2% every few hours, 3% every 10 minutes, excuse me. So people have been slacking and not checking this tab. Like right now, there's 44 of these. It's a good deal. By buying 44 of these, you get about 2,000-ish Blackstone powder. Pretty good deal. All right, now we get into the big management stuff. Once you have your empire set up, God bless you, Velia Flute guy. You're so OP. The hey? Hold on. Once you have all your stuff set up, you have your wood and mineral workbenches bought, like in Trent and Calphi and in Eferia. Keep this in mind, if you're not producing goods, you're essentially losing money. So how do you keep enough goods going so that things are working all the time? This is a very tough balance to find and something you'll have to invest money into. But let's go over a brief example here. And head to the marketplace real quick. All right, so we're going to go to the ore tab. First, we're going to check prices here real quick. Okay, so this brass ignet crate ingot crate. Sells for 31,590. Yeah, sounds great, actually. After you get the trade bonus, the distance bonus, and the bargain bonus, it's safe to say this will sell for 75,000. That'd be on the low. It's definitely going to sell for at least that. So we're going to say for every brass crate, we get 75,000. So we're going to open the calculator back up here. And so we're going to say for 100 crates, for 100 of those crates, we're going to get 7.5 million. Now, to make a crate, it takes 10 brass. To make 10 brass, we have to melt copper and zinc together. Or is that the other way around? 10 and copper is bronze. Okay, so we know that we get about 2.5 return on something that takes 5 each. So for each 2.5 copper and bronze, it's going to take us... Hold on here a second. For every 40 copper and bronze melted shards that we have, we're going to receive about 1 crate, which is worth 75,000. Is that even right? No, that's way off. Every 20. That makes more sense. Where have I gone? We're in the weeds. Let me just say that math's not my strong suit, and I don't get everything down to the penny. But if we look at the marketplace here, click on the ore tab, we're just going to click shard. That's what we're going to search for. So we can see melted tin shards are 952 right now. Melted copper shards are 1037. So let's just do this. Let's just say that the prices are a little bit higher. We're going to calculate out to 1,100 per shard. So if we take 20 times 1,100, it would cost us 22,000 by buying those to make 1 crate. We add in the 300 silver that it costs to make the blackstone powder, and then the 4,000 that it takes to ship it. The 300 plus, we'll say 4,500, including alternate shipping. So if we just straight up bought the materials and melted them and turned them into crates, we're still receiving about triple our investment back. Now, it can be really hard to free up the money to do this, because if you're trying to do a full-scale empire, you may be spending 60, 80, 100 million on materials at a time to keep everything churning. But look at this as an investment into the future of your empire. You spend $60 million today, and about 2 weeks later, it turns into 120, 140. So definitely buying zinc and tin is good. This is why I'm in 6 copper nodes right now, because the more resources I bring in is the less that I have to buy to keep it running fully optimally. So I can just buy zinc and tin. When I was on the market yesterday, there was over 20,000 of all these, so I bought them out. See, I don't look at beer as money, because you get the grains for free, and the materials aren't bad either. There's definitely a cost to beer, don't get me wrong, but I don't think the cost of beer is anywhere, even in the calculation when you have a full-scale crate empire going. It's maybe 1 or 2% of your profits at most. Only thing you have to buy is the mineral water, leavening agent, and sugar. Sanctus, thank you for the 20 consecutive months. Much love. Alright guys, I'm going to give you my biggest secret now, because I'm a nice guy and I believe knowledge and information should be shared. Here's the secret, and a few people know about it, but I don't think very many do. You can buy the rough crystals, rough green, rough translucent, rough mud, and rough red. Rough red going to be the highest amount. There's multiple nodes with rough red crystals. People put these up all the time for sale. You can sometimes check this tab and there will be 6, 7, 8,000 rough red crystals. Before I made this video anyways. So what we'd be selling there is these. That makes the red crystal amulet lover. You see this only sells for 7,400. Seems pretty weak, right? After you get it shipped to Ankado Inner, they're worth about 20,000 at 130% bonus. Be safe to average it out at about 15,000. So heading back to the market page. Bring up the calculator. The low on these is about 1,000. If you leave it long enough, you will find them for that cheap. But we'll just say, for the sake of argument, you're buying it for $12.65. So we have to do this in a batch amount that makes sense for shipping cost. So we're going to say we need to make 80 amulets. That takes 3 per. It'll take double the amount of rough to make the same amount of crystals. So to make 240 red crystals to turn into 80 amulets, it would take 480 rough red crystals. Okay, so that's a $600,000 investment to make a batch of 80, which is how many can ship in one shipping thing. Okay, we're going to add in 164,000, which is the shipping cost to go from Afaria to Anacondo. 771,000 buying at $12.65. Then we're going to take 80 times 15,000. 1.2 million. So the profit margin for buying, creating, shipping, and selling amulets is only about 500,000, per 240. That may not seem very good, but the reason this is important to create amulets and ship them to trade is every item you sell raises your trade skill. The higher your trade skill is, the bigger bargain bonus you can get from the trade vendor. When you start reaching artisan, we're talking about a 30% bonus. It makes all of your goods worth more. So while you're not gaining very much, you're not losing, and you're gaining trade skill. Dexter the Dragon, thank you for the 9 consecutive months. Much love, sir. And Sanctus, thank you for 20, dude. My goodness. But everybody follow along with that? And that is also the reason that we're in all the crystal nodes. The Goblin Cave. Oop. Southern Sanaga. Karudo Cave. Rudum Outstation are all crystal nodes. But then to supplement that, we also buy crystals, create them, ship them, and sell them. So that's an example of one little item you can buy in the marketplace, still turn a profit. Yeah, you don't see the return on your investment right away, but it will help level your trade skill, which is really important. Okay, in addition, making steel can also be good. Steel crates only sell for 21,000, so the profit margin is even skinnier. But melted iron shards tend to show up on the marketplace for about 900. Coal's about 300. We'll just say 400 for the sake of argument. So if we're going to make steel, which is coal and melted iron shards together, it takes 10 per crate. To make 1 crate, we would need, we'll just say 1,400 times 20. 28,000 to make 1 crate. Then we have to pack it and then ship it. So plus 4,000 for shipping. It's actually 4,400. Cuts our profits, but in about half. But steel is very good processing XP. Anytime you can make steel, brass, or bronze, you're looking at the best processing XP in the game. So buying those things and making a little bit less money to level up your processing skill is a great idea. Do you guys have any questions? I think I've covered most of what I want to cover in this guide video. We broke down the Empire from scratch, started from scratch, explained the nodes that we're in and why. We went over workers, went over mineral and wood workbenches, and went over how to actually make money on the marketplace via crafting. But if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. I feel like I had one more subject I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, processing houses and inventory management. Guys, it's been an hour and 40 minutes of this guide portion. I'm going to take a very short break here. There won't be any ads for this break. I'm just going to grab some more water and stretch my legs real quick. When I come back, I'll talk about where to process and why, because that's also very important. All right. Let's talk about where to process things and why we process them there. Generally speaking, the less shipping you have to do, the better, because every time you have to ship, it costs you some form of money. So, every town up to Tariff can ship directly to Calphion. So that's Olvia, Velia, Heidel, Trent, Keplin, and Tariff can all ship to Calphion. So Calphion becomes a hub for processing. Looking at our Calphion inventory, you can see that I do most of my plywood here and crystals. I ship all crystals here, and we do Calphion crates in this area as well. I have Tariff set up as my steel processing house. You can see I have a 10,000 batch of steel, or about 500 crates worth of steel ready in Tariff. The reason I chose Tariff as steel processing is, one, it can ship directly to Calphion, and two, the coal node, or one of your main coal nodes, is directly above at Omar Lava Cave. Speaking of which, I forgot to start my workers there, so let's do that. I don't think it's based on value, Deathlock. I believe for leveling up trade XP, it's just per item, which is why those amulets are so important. They don't sell for the most, but you can produce them in the highest quantity, which is just better XP. So though it took my workers a little bit longer to do, I have all the timber in this area coming into Heidel, so we can do all of our timber processing at one time, ship it to Calfian, ship it to Trent. We do all our Calfian crates here. We create all our steel in Tariff, because that's a good place to store our coal. And then, of course, I have 6 copper nodes coming into Velia, so we process our copper here. And then brass and bronze. So brass and bronze in Velia, steel in Tariff, Calfian crates, and crystals here, and all the lumber and iron comes into Heidel. It's very good if you separate where you're going to process things, because if you leave your workers alone for about a week and a half, you're going to have a major surplus. So you can sit down in one place for a day or 2 days and just process out. We're not always 100 out of 100 transport, which is why I'm going over this right now. It's very important that you have your stuff together, because transporting from Afaria Port all the way over to Ankado Inner, you can only ship 100 things at a time, takes about 2 hours. It's really hard to outproduce your shipping, but if you have a lot of weird stuff tied up shipping from one place to another, it slows you down quite a bit. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to my trading alt here. This is not a requirement, but it does save some time. You can just run your main all the way up to Ankado, which is a pain to get to, but I have a designated alt there just to do my trading. "37 years, huh? It's a long ban. All right, so we're going to have a 10-minute wait time here to trade, but let's talk about this real quick. I bought the house 1-2 in Ankado Inner, and then I bought a storage container from the storage manager. Storage container allows you to remotely access your storage in a town. The reason we bought this house is literally right down the stairs is the person that we trade in our goods to. He's right here. You'll see a lot of people bring wagons and stuff up here. The reason I don't use a wagon for trading, you can do this crazy thing where you can stack up like 1,000 crates in a wagon and then sell them all at once. Every trade good in the game has a value from percentage up to 130% based on what's been traded on that channel recently. I try not to sell anything that's below 115%. So when I start out, I grab one of each thing that I have in my inventory. I normally trade on my alt, yeah. This is my designated mule. And the person that I will level up my trade skill on. I stopped leveling trade skill on my main. This one is now a designated trader that will receive all of my trade skill ups. Trade bugs. After the trade patch, trade XP is broken. No matter how far you take trade goods, the XP will be the same. So from Valley to Valley Farm will be the same as one side of the map to the other. Oh, that's cool, Elder Gamer. I'm not worried about the speed that it happens. I just want to make sure all my trade XP is going in the same place. So now we have a 10-minute wait time here. If you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. But we cannot trade for another 470 seconds. You know what? I'm going to de-invest from the observatory here. I don't need Valencia City connected. That's the truth. Oh yeah, let's get our workers set back up over here. So we have Sherry Farm here, which we're going to have... Okay, we have this professional giant also has farm knowledge, so he's going to be our best bet for here. Okay, and on this Omar Lava Cave, we're going to put our Artisan Goblin. on the zinc node. You'll see it takes 50 minutes, but even the people that are closer can't do it faster than the goblin that's in the other town. This also makes it so both of our zinc nodes are coming into the same place. Once again, simplifying shipping. Would you still choose this method if you played more actively? For me personally, yeah, I would. I love this stuff. That being said, grinding is the best money. But you can grind and still have the system set up and working while you're grinding. Calpheon is alright to use, especially when you're first setting up your empire. Deathlock, you're gonna get an additional 10% bonus for making the crates in Trent, but if you're early on, getting down to Trent is very CP intensive, so Calpheon is still 92% bonus. Still quite good. As a secondary option, you can just make crates in Afaria, which is a 98% bonus. Only 4% extra versus Afaria to Trent, though the cheapest mineral workbench in Afaria is 5 CP, and the cheapest wood workbench is 4 CP. Well, I mean, you could just choose to make one or two things, Zandak. You could just go like Calpheon or just Balanos and Sarandia crates. Alright, let's start shipping some goods here. Oh, I need to refill the coffers over here. You know, Dictago, you can really do whatever you want. There's so many different ways to play this game. I wouldn't lock yourself into one playstyle early or anything. Brings in 100 things at a time. 2 sets of 40 and 1 set of 20. But now we can't ship anything else until those arrive. We gotta wait for a boat to get there and then work its way all the way to the other side of the map. As long as you're getting in 2 or 3 shipments a day, you should not be overproducing your shipping ability. In fact, it'd be pretty impossible to do so, even if you had a ton of workshops. All the normal crates will stack 1 each in the transport. The amulets will stack 2 each, so you can ship 200 instead of 100. I have not gone whale hunting myself. There are some decent nodes in Valencia, but they're all so terribly expensive to get to versus how much you make. I just haven't even bothered. What can I do with chicken meat? Alright, chicken meat makes a couple things. It makes pet food. You're always going to have way more chicken meat than you need. I end up vendoring it a lot, to be honest. But why you want to be in the chicken nodes is to get the egg side drop for cooking. All the really high tier recipes for cooking that you can sell for decent money take eggs. Oh yeah, I got a great link for you, Just Some Gamer. The somethinglovely.net/BDO is a really, really great map for finding where things are in the secondary drops. You can in fact search any ingredient and it will ping the map for you, showing you where it's at. Some good money makers for cooking are dark pudding, ham sandwiches are mint, fruit wine sells really well. I mostly make beer just for the contribution turn-ins and to keep the, keep the empire churning. Oh, there surely is, Digtaka. The lore in this game is actually super deep. In fact, every knowledge category in the game has a text blurb with it. The lore is deep, deep, deep in this game, and the story has quite a bit of lore as well. It's a matter if you want to choose to read it. A lot of people skip over the text in this game, and fine, but you're missing out on a lot of lore. The only thing I've done for alchemy is I made about 7,000 reagents just to get to artisan, and that's the extent of the alchemy I've done. Another thing I do is I gather water, since you can auto gather now, and then I build up a surplus of 6,000 bottles of river water. And then that's also an additional processing task you can do, which drops alluvial gold, which you can turn into gold ingots, which sell for quite a bit. Yeah, Knight's Rations are really great XP, Blarb. No argument for me.
Keep it dapper.
Valibus, thank you for these 6 consecutive months. Much love. Glad you could stop by tonight. 92 seconds remaining. We can wait a minute and a half. I'm going to guess the trade price is going to be kind of tanks. This guy has his wagon right here, but who knows? Yeah, the lore in this game is kind of how deep you want to go. There's a lot of it if you want to hunt it down, and I certainly did. I have very few knowledge categories left. I do not, just some gamer. As far as I can tell, investing into nodes does not help all that much, but it does. What is my total liquid silver count? I don't know. 100 million, 120. But in the past 2 weeks, I've invested almost 300 million into the Empire. We're almost half all artisan workers, which was very expensive, but worth. Thanks, Prolific One. Each new area that gets released has a new Black Spirit quest line too, which will continue the lore and alter the way your Black Spirit looks. Yeah, that's what they said. It only affects drops, but I don't even know if I trust them saying that. Even the devs don't know everything about this game. Hey, here we go. So we can see we're kind of tapped here. We can sell bronze and steel, but everything else is too low to sell at the moment. Yeah, Zandak, I looked at investing that much into artisan workers as an investment for the future. All right, so we can take 37 of these. Yeah, new Fallout. Actually, 30 is the max, and they get the work skill change. They get 1 skill change at level 30. I didn't bargain because I was only selling 1 of each thing, so I'm going to save the energy for this. Do. Sorry to disappoint, Ken, but no, there is not. I'm Lethal Frag. I've been live streaming full-time for almost 5 years now. The inaugural Twitch Hall of Famer. And I'll be the first to tell you that there are no shortcuts to success. Not a one. There we go, almost 90,000 per. Well, you can be PvP'd after level 45, but do you have to participate? I would say no. Do. There is no method to bargaining, no. But the best thing you can do is invest all energy into getting 1,000 amity with the trade vendor, because then you get 7 chances at bargaining versus the 3 you'd normally get. The higher level our trading skill is, the bigger bargain bonus we can receive. So the more stuff we trade, the more stuff will be worth over time. Do. Well, that's the basics. If you have any more questions, I'll answer it, but I think we're going to move on to something else. Really happy I could put out that guide video. Anthony, if you'd be so kind as to break this broadcast into the 2 portions, I'd appreciate it. Germ Lukes, thank you for the 10,000 bits. How incredibly generous. Thank you so much, sir. Greatly appreciated. Incredibly generous of you. Raph about it, thank you for the host, sir. Much love. We've currently been streaming for 1 hour 58 minutes, so you could probably cut the first 2 hours, and that'd be good. That actually went quicker than I was expecting, but that's not a bad thing. Okay, inventory's clear enough. Just bought an artisan giant worker from Work Exchange for 90k. Nice find, dude. Yeah, the low-level artisan workers are so much cheaper than the high-level ones. Abo Ninja, we do upload all content to YouTube, but I want this portion to be separate as I did a special guide broadcast. This is kind of a special segment, so to speak. Alright, so we're going to start melting copper here. Excuse me for just a moment, and then we're going to rally into something else. But I'm glad I could do that video. I had the thought of doing that video when they released the value pack, and I realized what the remote investment did. I got really excited because I knew I could actually do a proper guide video showing what the different nodes do and why we invest and what we do. So I hope that helps somebody out, and maybe you guys understand how to use your resources to make money a little bit better. Passive income's great. Just wonderful. So excuse me momentarily, and I'll figure out what we're doing next. Oh yeah, that's one more thing we can talk about real quick as far as making money. Hold on here. We're not done yet. Alright, so there's a reason that most of my alts are in Velia. Hey Digtaka, the GM Prixie is out right now, my wife, but if you drop a message in the Discord, she can get you when she gets back. Yeah, B-Dirk, the player base for this game is astoundingly good. Almost like it's a really good game. Okay, so every alt that you create has an energy pool that is shared with yours, so the maximum shared between all characters. Each character has their own energy pool, though. In the town of Velia, there is this guy, the Alchemist Alustin. You can trade your energy for energy potions here. Now, there's lots of stuff you can do with all the energy, but now that processing's free, there's less stuff to do. So we're going to do 200 energy for this 50 energy potion. Now, if you just have alternates and you have energy above 200, you can get these extra large energy potions. You can use these for yourself to power level your skills, or you can straight up sell them for 1.5 million each. So for every alt you have, about every 4.25 days, they're generating $1.5 million. Pretty sweet, right? This is a really efficient way to spend your alt energy if you don't want to run your alts all over the place, doing Amity stuff, so on and so forth. You can also use them for night vendor roles, that's right. But as far as making money, that's the easiest way to turn your energy into cash. Or to power level your own skills. Okay, now give me a second and we'll hop over to something else.